Yay! Hi, everyone. I'm here live with Danielle Kuntz,
Hi.
harpist, and I'm super excited to talk to her today about the work she's been doing and also what she's playing on Of Wind and Waves, which is our virtual concert that's happening on Sunday, January 21st, or I'm sorry, January 31st at 2 p.m. Pacific and 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you don't know Danielle yet, you should. Danielle is based in Ann Arbor, Michigan. She's a harpist. She's a new music advocate. She's the creator of the YouTube channel Compose Harp. And she has composers from all around the globe who tune in and learn from her about how to write for the harp. She also posts great content about that on social media. She has a mailing list. It's really informative. And she's got degrees, undergrad degrees in music theory and harp, and a master's in harp with a related field in music theory from the University of North Texas. So I'm super excited to have you here and so excited to have you on the concert. That's a quick overview, but Danielle, tell us a little bit more about you and about what you love to do in the world of music.
Yeah, well, thanks, Lisa. It's so good to be here with you today. So, just a little bit of my background. I got into doing new music actually from my theory classes. When we were just studying all the literature, I saw the new music and I was like, this stuff is really cool. It's innovative. You're getting a chance to actually experiment, explore new things rather than only doing the same things that we've always done. From there, I started meeting composers at school and then beyond school. So, it's just that's where it started, was actually in music theory. So I love the background. I love the opportunity to just do new things, try new things, experiment, pioneer. And I'm not a composer, but I absolutely love working with composers and just kind of collaborating with their creativity on that. And then the reason I started my YouTube channel and the other projects I'm doing is really just because I noticed that a lot of composers want to write for the harp, but they don't really have the tools that they need. Um, like I took a lot of the composition classes and the orchestration classes that composers at UNT were taking, and realized there's not a lot of information out there about the harp. And harp is one of the least innovative instruments compared to the others. So my goal is just to fill that gap and give composers the tools, because we do need their creativity. We need them to write for the harp so we can continue to bring the harp out of just its own little niche into the more mainstream world of music. But they need tools, and then harpists need to be a little bit more confident in composers, non-harpist composers' ability to write for the harp. So there's a little bit of just collaboration that I'm trying to foster.
I love that. I think that's so important. And I see a lot of similarities there in the work I'm doing with composers who want to write for singers, because that's often barely covered as well. And I can tell you, I mean, I took very good orchestration classes. I had wonderful teachers as a composer, and those books, I think the harp, the mandolin, the guitar, like it's all the non-bowed strings all together in one chapter in a lot of the major textbooks.
Exactly.
And, you know, sometimes that can be how it gets into the syllabus too. And that's not enough. I love the harp so much. I played a little bit lap harp in one semester of pedal harp. And so I'm so excited that we met. And I'm also so excited that you're performing my piece, Eddy, which has not been performed for about 10 years since my master's recital. So I'd love it if you would take the chance now to share a little bit. You've got a little preview of Eddy, which is one of the pieces you'll get to hear on Of Wind and Waves. And then I'd love to know your thoughts on it as a performer. So let's see if I can change my screen a little bit.
Perfect. I'm going to shift over here. So I'm just going to play a little excerpt from the middle of the piece. I'm just give you a little taste of what's coming up on the concert.
Yay!
little snippet.
Oh, that's so exciting. Thank you so much for sharing and for performing a little chunk live. So I'm so curious, what would you like to share about the piece? You know, I wrote it years ago, but you've been spending a lot of time with it recently. And
Yeah,
what can you
absolutely.
tell us about the piece and your experience?
Yeah, and I'd love to hear a little bit about more of what your background and your idea is, because I'm completely just interpreting this based on, the notes that I'm reading and how it feels, but I really love it. We actually do have a lot of music for harp written about like water and brooks and streams. A lot of it though, it feels like it's more of an observer perspective, where you're just, you're sitting on the side of a river, you're watching the water flow. So you have like La Source by Zabel, La Source by Hasselmans, Vers La Source dans le Bois, if you've noticed the trend by Tournier. But it's all very, arpeggio based, more of like a repetitive type of feel. What I love about Eddy is you're kind of on the journey, as part of this little brook. I see it's not just consistent flowing, but there's, little skips over rocks and little rapids, little inlet pools where it all kind of stops for a little bit, and then you cascade again, you go down a big waterfall, and that's just how I see it. There's just so much variety, there's so much color, and it kind of shows a different perspective of water that I can't really think of any other pieces that do it in the same way. So
Oh,
that's my
yay!
take on it, but
I
I love
love
it.
it.
Just it's so creative, and there's just it's cool. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's so great. I mean, the thing that gets me excited as a composer was, I think, back in undergrad, the first time I handed a piece off to like an upperclassman, someone who is about to graduate, and they took my piece and they didn't just perform it, but they like interpreted the heck out of it. And that is what's so exciting to me, because you were talking about collaboration earlier, and that's what it's all about. Is that, yes, I can compose and have an idea of what I want, and I can put things on the page, and it's my job to put things on the page in a way that's clear. But none of that ever comes close to like another whole human being coming in and adding in their interpretation. And yeah, I think for sure I was thinking about different movements. I mean, an eddy, like the textbook definition is, it's the circular movements, whether that's kind of along the edges of the water, or there's big ones in the ocean that pull up actually nutrients from the depths of the ocean and kind of bring them up to the surface. So it's a huge part of the ecosystem. So like those sorts of things were inspiring me. But then I love that you are really feeling and hearing a journey in it. And I don't know, I can't remember if that's what I was thinking or not, but I think it's great. So yeah, is there anything else you want to share about what people will hear in the piece?
Yeah, just watch the whole journey, because it's not all going to sound the same. I showed you one little snippet, but there's kind of like 4 different layers to it. So definitely catch the live performance, because you don't want to miss the other sections.
Yay! Yes, I'm so excited. And we have a program of 6 pieces, 5 performers, 6 pieces of wind and waves, and all of the pieces have to do with currents of water, currents of air, and also currents of emotion that make up our physical, our psychological, our natural world. So it's going to be a really exciting concert to have Danielle, to have other fabulous fabulous performers as well, who will speak to. Well, Danielle, I wanted to ask you before we wrap up, what is coming up next for you? And I really particularly want to know about your composer's harp lesson workshop that I heard about.
Yeah.
That sounds super cool. So can you tell us about that and about other things on your 2021 calendar?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm still in the early stages of 2021 planning, as most of us are.
Yes.
I'm working on putting together a composer's harp lesson workshop, just with the idea that a lot of composers, they all tell me, I wish I could take a couple months to rent a harp, get harp lessons. It's just harps aren't easy to rent. Finding a harp teacher, the time commitment for that kind of thing. But on the other hand, composers do need that introduction just to understand what the harp is like, how it plays, and what are the demands of writing for the harp. So I'm putting together a workshop the end of this month. It's going to be in 2 sessions. One is just going to be the introduction to the harp. So it'll just be like you're taking a virtual harp lesson with me. you don't have to have a harp, but I'll cover what I would typically cover in the first 4 lessons with a student who has musical background. So no reading the music, that kind of thing. It's really just harp technique. And then the second session will be what all the composers are always asking me are extended techniques. So the cool things you can do beyond just basic harp playing. So soundboard, harmonics, PDLT, tapping on the soundboard, and then prepared harp and that sort of thing. So we'll cover all of that in the second session. So date is still to be decided, but I'm aiming for the last week of January. So be sure to follow me on social media, and I'll be making that announcement probably this weekend or early next week.
Awesome. And I'll post some links to Danielle's website in the comments after this video wraps up, so you can come back and look for those. Well, thank you so much for taking the time for playing live for us. And also, I just want to thank you for performing my music. It's so exciting. This piece has not been performed in a while, and
Absolutely.
It's really exciting to hear it, to hear your interpretation. I can't wait. And I hope everybody who's tuning in now will keep an eye out for future interviews over the next couple of weeks. And you can also get your tickets now for Of Wind and Waves. I'll post that in the comments as well when this is over. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your time, Danielle. And we'll be talking soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Awesome.